back to the farm. Today I want to talk about skid steer implements. Now, obviously, the bucket, most important implement. You're going to use that for everything. Pallet forks are probably the second most utilized piece of attachment I have for this thing. When you have a skid steer and pallet forks, you're amazed at how often you use them. I literally use them for everything. Every time I go to the big box stores and I'm buying sacks of concrete, lumber, whatever, if it's even remotely heavy and I'm buying a lot of them, I ask them just put it on a pallet and put the pallet in the back of the truck. Because then when I'm home, I just unload the pallet straight from the truck using the skid steer. And then if I need to move it around, I just use the skid steer. Pallet forks are so helpful, so convenient. You know, mineral tubs, feed, you name it, I use those pallet forks. The other ones that I didn't realize how helpful they were until I got them was a tree puller. I've had this one now for about 2 years. It's pretty basic, it's pretty simple. It's probably one of the cheapest tree pullers you can get. But they work so well for pulling out multi-flower rose bushes by the roots, picking things up that you wouldn't necessarily think of, just grabbing dead logs out of the timber to clean up your timber, and obviously uprooting trees to about 6-8 inches in diameter and just pulling them up by the roots. It is a great asset to have, and for the price point, that's probably one of your want to get soon purchases after you get a skid steer. The grapples, now we're starting to spend some money, but last year I had 2 teenagers rip out about 1,000 feet of old fence. It was woven wire and bobbed wire, and it took them about 5 days, and they were covered in poison ivy, and it was a sucky job. I've been playing with this yesterday, and I'm going to play with it some more today. I ripped out probably about 600 feet of fence in about 4 hours with it. Use the tree puller, pile up all your stuff, and then come in with your grapples and pick up that pile of brush and move it to a burn pile. Or if you have to rip out fence, all I was doing is just dig that bottom teeth into the ground a couple inches, so if there is that bottom wire buried, you're grabbing it, and then I was just kind of tilting up and just grabbing it all and picking it all up. And you can actually use the grapples to roll it all up into a giant ball as you're going. The more I play with the grapples, the more I wish I would have had them for the last few years. My order of precedence at this point in my mind is bucket pallet fork second. Because you can move bales with a pallet fork. It's not great, but it works. Then a bale spike, because bale spike's just more efficient. And then I would go tree puller, then grapple. And I'm also leaving out post hole digger. If you're going to be digging holes, post hole diggers on these machines, so much faster and more efficient than a post hole digger on the back of a tractor. I love my post hole digger. How about I go use them and show you what they can do? so that was quite a bit of fence I just ripped out. It wasn't pretty, it tore up some trees, but those are mostly scrub trees. That area is way overgrown, it needs to be thinned out. So that's what I'm gonna do next. We're gonna switch over to the tree puller, and I'm gonna keep cleaning this up a little bit. But again, with this grapple, it's so efficient. It can just rip out some of this old fence so quickly. And as you saw, as I made these piles, I was able to just kind of grab all of those piles and kept smashing them down tighter and tighter and tighter to where ultimately all of that fit into one grapple load. So at this point, let's switch over to the tree puller. Shit. Well, I popped off a hydraulic hose, so I've just been spraying hydraulic fluid ever since I pulled this tree out. So I think what I'm gonna do is see about doing this auxiliary release, emergency release. So down here, there's this little button, supposedly. Can't see it. Oh, there it is. So just inside here, there's this little button. As I push it, it'll slowly lower the hydraulics. And they're safely down on the ground. So let's hop out and see what kind of damage we did. So this is also why I like the overhead door, because if this was a door that swung out, in actuality, I'd be trapped in here and I'd be going through the emergency exit behind me. Because even though I've lowered the hydraulics down to the ground using the emergency release, you can see this arm's right here, you know, in the middle. I can still scurry out the top, I think, but it's resting on the ground. So, I don't know. I mean, I just broke a hydraulic line on my auxiliary equipment, so the actual Kubota's fine, but how much hydraulic fluid did I just lose? That's the question. Wow. So, my fittings are still in place. I popped that off of the hose. Obviously, these hoses are way too short for this machine. So this isn't going to be a bad fix, because it looks like if I just pop these off, then the Kubota should be fine. I just need to check the hydraulic fluid. So just disconnect these two fittings, and I might end up leaving this here with the tree still attached. I'm probably 40 feet away from the machine, 50 feet away from the machine, and I can see on the plants here that the hydraulic fluid sprayed all the way out to here. So these tree pullers are nice, but make sure your hoses are long enough. This is the first time I've used this tree puller with this machine. The old Bobcat 753, not an issue. Hoses were plenty long enough. But this one's auxiliary hydraulics, looking at it now, they're up here further on the arm. The old Bobcat 753's connections were about here. So that 8 inches to a foot, obviously that made all the difference in the world. So no tree puller video today. Whoa, that had some pressure behind it. That fitting's on there tight. Okay. So sitting up here on the machine, I was able to disconnect my hoses. Now let's see how much hydraulic fluid I have left in the machine. It says I still have hydraulic fluid. Doesn't say I'm empty, so I guess I will go ahead and disconnect this And I think I'm just going to park the machine here and walk home. I don't know if I like the idea of driving it back to the house, unless I'm for sure I have plenty of hydraulic fluid. But I'd like to park this in a little bit better spot, so I'll go ahead and do that. So I went ahead and ran the machine enough to detach from the tree puller. So, I mean, I literally just got off to the side and dropped it with the tree still in it. And I'm just going to leave that here. I'm not going to worry about it for right now. I'm not out of hydraulic fluid, but I'm low. I think I can see the sight ball. And supposedly if you can see the sight ball, you have enough, but this is an expensive machine. I don't know if I really want to take the chance of running it. So it is exactly a half a mile from where I'm at on the farm to the house, following my little farm roads. So, as I've said before, as I've heard in the past, farming's failing. Shit breaks. That's how it goes. So it is what it is, I guess. But all right, so I'm not sure when I'm gonna get this fixed. It might be the next day or two. I'm sure I'll get hydraulic fluid in it tonight, because I'll just come back up here with the truck. Probably make Mama Llama come with me, so she can drive the truck home once we top it off with hydraulic fluid. And there we go. That'll be it. So I guess this video will turn into this is the Grapple. This is what I think of the Grapple. This is why I like the Grapple. And I will do a tree puller video some other time. So stay tuned for that. So I guess I'm Ben with MD Triple Creek. And remember, farming's failing.